About 6 months ago now, I decided to rejoin the furry fandom, and I thought I'd do a video explaining that decision. But first, let's start from the beginning. I first discovered the fandom in August 2019, when I was just 14 years old. I was a huge Beyblade fan at the time, and the right side of my LR string launcher had broken, so I was looking at YouTube videos about how to fix it. Whilst I was doing that though, I also started searching up videos about how to make Beyblade launchers in general, and as I was typing, I realised that one of the search recommendations was how to make a fursuit. At this point I didn't know a lot about furries, and everything I'd heard had been negative. Like most people, I thought furries were people who actually thought they were animals, and I had zero desire to become one. But I was curious to see how the suits were made, so I decided to click on it and began watching some videos. I initially began watching a few fursuit tutorial videos, the one by Sky High Studios comes to mind, and I was surprised to see how unique and well made the suits were. I then officially fell down the rabbit hole and began watching videos about the community and what it really is. Which is a community full of creative people that like anthropomorphic animals. I'd be lying if I said I knew what that word meant before I discovered this community. You see, when I was 14, I was struggling to find that sense of belonging, and I often felt misunderstood. I didn't fit in at school, and I often did my own thing. In fact, this new community I found seemed like the exact opposite of my school because it looked warm and uplifting. School often felt cold and draining. There was a lot of bullying, arguing, fighting, and even if I wasn't directly involved in it that day, it was still going on around us. Of course now I know that's just your typical British secondary school and that the furry fandom isn't perfect, but we've all been a teenager at one point. But that's how I initially discovered the fandom, and it was through YouTube because back then YouTube was the main place to be. I then went on to make my first Persona Yoshi, and he went through various phases before I ditched him for Archer. Yes, I couldn't draw to save my life. I did get a bit better though. I'm not going to go into depth about that because I've already made a video about it, so if you're interested I'll put the link in the description below. So by the end of 2019, I was a part of the community, and throughout the next year I continued watching YouTube videos, and I even tried making my own YouTube videos.
Well, I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I don't have a clue on how I'm gonna start this video. However, I don't want to start it like those shit YouTubers do.
Like, oh, what's up guys? Welcome back to my new banger video. You wanna smash that like button, smash that notification bell, some shit YouTuber, you suck fucking dick.
Anyway.
Wow, I really didn't give a fuck back then. But one of the main problems I had is that I was too young to actually experience anything. I didn't have the money to buy a fursuit, and I didn't have the freedom to travel to meets and cons. Plus, a lot of those events are 18 plus anyway. This meant that my fandom experience was solely online, and I became less and less interested as time went on. I can't put a date on it, but by mid 2022 I'm gonna say, I was no longer a part of the fandom. Look, sometimes life just takes over, and I decided to focus on other things. I did still make videos using my Archer character stills, but those videos were intended for a more mainstream audience. As you can imagine, not much came from them, but I did learn a lot about how to edit videos and write scripts. Plus, I'd be lying if I said that the community's poor public perception didn't play a part. No one wants to be hated, and it can be easy to move away from something you like in order to try and fit in. That brings us nicely to October last year. For some reason, I decided to private all of my old YouTube videos and take a break from the platform. But I soon realised that I was very unsatisfied with my life, and I felt lost. I didn't know where to go and what to do. I was now 20 years old, and it felt like life was passing us by day. Sounds depressing, this. I wanted to go somewhere where I could make new friends and also be creative. And it got us thinking, should I try the furry fandom again? I've got now to lose. So I went on YouTube and fell back down the rabbit hole. After a few weeks, I was hooked. To be honest, the creative side of the fandom never left us. I always loved the idea of creating your own character and bringing it to life. In fact, I'd say that's one of my favourite things about the community. But I wanted to get out there and experience the meets and cons. I just so happened to have a free weekend at the same time as Mankfurs, and after thinking about it for a few days, I decided to bite the bullet and go. So I booked an early train to Manchester on the 11th of October and went to my first ever meet. Initially, I was nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I was even thinking, do you know what, do I just go to Manchester and not go? Like, do I just pussy out of the situation? I even had a few whiskies to ease my nerves, and I don't recommend that, by the way. If you can be social without alcohol, that's brilliant. For the first couple hours, I actually struggled to make friends, but eventually, I kicked up the confidence to go and talk to people. As hard as it seems, that's what you've got to do sometimes. They say shy kids getting out, don't they? Everyone I spoke to was really nice, and it made us think, why didn't I do this sooner? I ended up making a few new friends, some of which I'm still in contact with now, and that's something I hadn't done for years. From that point on, I knew I wanted to come back to the fandom and attend more meets. Fast forward to this year, and I've went back to Mankfurs twice, and I've really enjoyed getting out there and just meeting new people. Plus, I went to my first house party. I definitely drank one too many vodka cranberries, but it was an experience. These last 6 months have taught us how important it is to think for yourself in life and do what makes you happy. For too long I was taking life too seriously and I wasn't having much fun. You know what they say, to be cringe is to be free. That's not to say that the fandom's perfect, because like most fandoms, there's always going to be bad apples, but we can't let those people ruin it for everyone else. I suppose that's one of the biggest flaws about having a community, because all it takes is 1 or 2 people to do something awful, and everyone else gets tarred with the same brush. Hence why I think it's important to treat everyone as individuals. And the main reason I'm here at the moment is because I like the idea of being creative and having my own character, as well as meeting new people. You might be here for entirely different reasons, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, or doing anything awful, and by awful you know the types of things I'm referring to, I'm just not going to say them on YouTube because I'm not sure if I can say them, that's okay with me. Feel free to tell us what you thought of this video in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy, feel free to leave a dislike. I always want to hear your honest opinions, and I'd really appreciate it if you were to subscribe. Thank you for watching this video anyways, and I'll see you all in the next video.